we have time for, great. And I hope to have time for lots of questions at the end. I'm going to be your moderator tonight, and I will be showing the slides for everyone. So you may hear from me from time to time, but I will try to stay in the background and then help with questions at the end as needed. You may want to make sure that your setting is for the speaker and the slides, because that would be the most effective way for you to see the speakers each time. And then we'll put the slides down at the end. So if you're not speaking, if you could please remember to mute, that would be great. And I never said I'm Nancy Hewitt, but I am. I'm delighted to be with you and with Amanda Larson, and I will now start sharing my screen. And I'll just get this on presentation mode. If you'll please tell me when I get it right.
It's not a full, there it is.
And is it full screen at this point?
Looks good to me.
Well,
It's full screen and then the speaker is on the side.
Great.
well, it's not in presentation mode. We can still see the next slides if you care about that, but
Yes, I do care about that. So let's go to this.
I'm saying normal.
Yeah, that's it.
Perfect.
Got it.
Perfect.
that's it.
Excellent. So welcome all of you, especially new members, to this orientation. We're so pleased that you joined ARCS and that you could join us this afternoon. As I mentioned earlier, Amanda Larson and I are co-VPs of the Member Relations Committee, which is responsible for putting together the orientations. And later on, you'll see some of the other members who put together this orientation tonight, this afternoon. Our agenda is listed below. We're going to hear from our Executive Director, Lori, who will also introduce Leanne Verboort. And then we'll have the introduction of new members by Amanda, just very briefly. And we'd like each of you to speak just a few minutes and tell us a little bit about yourselves. Then we'll turn towards ARCS National with our president, Kern, our local chapter, brought to you by Ann Jarvis, Elizabeth Bell, and Kate Joseph. And then Ann will introduce members at large and some of the other committees, and then there are individual committee presentations that you'll hear from the VPs from each committee. And like I said, we hope to have time for Q&A. So I'd like to turn this over to Lori Slaughter to get us started.
Thank you, Nancy, and welcome all the new members and everyone who is currently with ARCS. I am brand new. I think tomorrow is my first month anniversary for being ARCS Foundation Oregon's executive director, and I'm thrilled to be here. I want to first, before I read the mission, I'd like to introduce you to my partner in crime, Leanne Verboort. Leanne, can you say hello there?
I can wave. I'm not sure anybody's going to see me, but yeah, hi there. You've seen my name, I'm sure.
Leanne and I are here to support you all, so please don't hesitate to reach out to us when you need anything. The mission of ARCS is that we advance science and technology in the United States by providing financial awards to outstanding U.S. citizens studying to complete degrees in science, engineering, and medical research. And I think I will kick it back to you, Nancy.
Thank you. Okay, I'm pleased to introduce Amanda Larson, my co-VP, who will get us started on the new members. Amanda, we're not hearing you if you're there.
Forgot to unmute. Good afternoon. I'm Amanda Larson down here in Corvallis and co-VP with Nancy on Member Relations Committee. And I'd like to introduce our new members. Sharon Anderson is not new, but she could not attend last year's orientation. So we really want to just welcome her here today and do this more officially with her. I'm going to just introduce all four of you and then briefly just state something about yourself and what you hope to gain in ARCS. So our next new member is Vrishali Bokil from Corvallis, Oregon State University. Next is Linda Falkenstein from Portland. And last is Annie Zeidman Karpinski from Eugene, U of O. So please share a little bit about yourself and what you hope to gain in ARCS. We could start with Sharon.
Okay, thanks everybody. As people have just said, I'm not brand new, but I'm relatively new as a member, although for a number of years before I joined, I actually had the honor of attending some of the annual luncheons and learning more about art. So I'm a nephrologist or a kidney specialist. I'm a physician scientist. For many years, I had a basic science lab studying chronic kidney disease. In recent years, I've had progressively higher and more time-consuming administrative jobs, such that a few years ago, I had to shut down my lab. I just didn't have the time to devote the time needed. But I remain passionate about research, but also about training up the next generation. So, in recent years, I was chair of the Department of Medicine at OHSU, which is our largest department. Then for several years, I was dean of the School of Medicine. And then about 4 months ago, I stepped down from that position and I'm now part-time and trying to catch up. But I'm just classic academic, right? I'm all about the missions. I'm all about training, teaching the next generation, both scientists and clinicians and educators. So I just think ARCS is being a member of ARCS is a tremendous way to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Vrishali?
Thank you, Amanda. Hi, everyone. I'm Vrishali Bokil. I'm currently the Associate Dean for Research and Graduate Studies in the College of Science at Oregon State University, and I'm a professor of mathematics. I started at Oregon State in 2006, which is when I moved to Corvallis, and I started as an assistant professor in mathematics. I became an associate professor in 2013 and then a full professor in 2018. And since October of 2020, I've been in this role as Associate Dean for Research and Graduate Studies. I teach both undergraduate and graduate students. And in many of my seminars, I basically tell students that you are the leaders, you're the future leaders of higher education. And so providing graduate students training and mentoring in research and finding opportunities for them to get professional development, for them to understand research and science, be able to communicate science, be able to think critically, and understand discoveries. That's a big passion of mine. And so I'm really glad to be a member of ARCS and help with the mission of providing our future leaders with wonderful opportunities to be successful in science. So thank you very much for welcoming me into your organization.
Thank you. Welcome. Linda.
Well, first off, I'd like to just say I'm so happy to be able to be with all of you and be with just looking forward with great zest to being part of ARCS and especially getting to know each of wonderful women. I'm a longtime Portlander, originally from the East Coast, and I think probably the most important thing about me is that, bottom line, regardless what positions I've held, I'm an educator at heart, and started my career as a high school teacher right at Lincoln High School here in Portland. Ultimately, I was a professor at Portland State. Was with the American Bar Association running a global project on law and humanities, particularly how they impacted elementary education.
my own research was in graduate school, I focused on the diffusion of innovations. In other words, which I'm sure you all familiar with, how do you take the process of taking a new idea out to market, regardless what the idea is. And I particularly am very excited about being able to help take what I know about that diffusion of innovation, helping take ARCs, introduce ARCs even more to people I know and maybe those I don't know. I'm a writer, have lots of books, and enjoy that very much. And again, really happy to be part of such a wonderful organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Annie.
Hey everyone, I'm Annie Zeidman-Karpinski. I'm the Ken and Kenda Singer Science Librarian at the University of Oregon. So it probably comes as no surprise that I'm sponsored by Kenda, who is also here. And I am the person who was hired to sit behind the reference desk, the one with the bun who shushes people and stuff. But it turns out people stopped coming up to the reference desk. So my job has been to bring the reference desk to them. So helping people ask questions they didn't know they had, or making them feel less, helping them ask those questions, even if they think they shouldn't. So, and I have research interests in sort of how we find information, how to be more successful at that. I love learning about how to be a better educator, both how to teach more effectively, how to learn more effectively. And I'm interested in kind of whatever passes by my magpie imagination at the moment. So I can tell you about the thing that I'm most interested in right now, but it was just the thing I most had recently read, probably. So hopefully that we'll get a chance to ask many more questions of each other over the course of our work together. And I'm also a connector. So I think this is a great position. I get to connect people in both to the University of Oregon and within this community, and be part of that, training the next generation of folks to be successful in the field.
Great, thank you, Annie. I actually was thinking about you just recently because I'm reading the library book, and it's a fascinating book about libraries and librarians.
The one about the fire?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. By Susan Orland.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I confess I was ready to like unmute, and then Linda said that she's an author, so I was like, oh, what book should she write? So I had to go check to see. I'll stalk you later, Linda.
Welcome. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over now to Karen.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Karen, and on behalf of ARCS National, I want to welcome you to the Oregon chapter. I want to briefly tell you about the beginning of ARCS. 64 years ago marked the launch of Sputnik 1 and inaugurated the space age and space race. This inspired a group of dynamic women to ask themselves, what can they do to help elevate US scientific leadership? They approached the president of Caltech and created the model we use today. Next slide, please. There are 15 chapters under the umbrella of ARCS Foundation. You can see many of the chapters have been around for over 50 years. Oregon is one of the newer chapters, and I must say I'm a little biased, but we constantly hear that Oregon is considered one of the more successful chapters. Next slide, please. I'm proud to say that the Oregon chapter is well represented at the national level. There are actually 11 members serving in a variety of ways. The national board consists of 25 board members, and there are 4 of us who are elected officers and directors. Next slide, please. And Jarvis, as our president of Oregon, sits on the Council of Presidents. And this group consists of the chapter presidents, and they utilize their time to network with each other. And this is a very valuable resource for us. Next slide, please. We have 2 members who are elected to the Council of Advisors, and this group of women have been involved in ARCS for many years and help assist chapters. Next slide. We have 4 members who are serving on a variety of other committees. Next slide. Okay, you might ask, what does National do for our chapter? Here is a word collage that illustrates just that. And I'd like to pick out a few highlights to go over with you. Brand recognition. Even though we are 15 individual chapters, we all need to be uniform in our branding. National produces an annual report that can be used in our development materials, and National distributes a monthly newsletter via email. You'll learn about scholars and members from throughout the US. Uniform university standards. National standardizes the criteria for the approval of our universities and their departments. Universities go through a rigorous process to be approved to illustrate they are top research universities in the US. Collaboration networks are aligned to our chapters committees. These networks meet several times a year to share ideas, and this is another great resource for our committees. National website and chapter website. We have 16 websites in one, where every chapter can feature themselves, and National maintains the website. We have an all-American or all-member conference coming up October 10th through the 13th in Atlanta, and members from every chapter can attend to meet other members from across the country. We develop great camaraderies around the country, so make sure you mark your calendar, and I hope you'll join in the fun. And then I'd briefly like to mention 2 initiatives that I brought forward this year as my term began. And one is a DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And last year, ARCS National created a DEI statement. And we heard from funders that to take us seriously, we need to create actions to our statement. And so we have a task force that is working on recommendations that they'll bring to the board in June. And then we'll pass on those recommendations to the chapters. And then SEAC is SEAC, Science Engineering Advisory Council, was an advisory council that National disbanded this year. And I created a task force to evaluate what worked, what didn't work, and determine if we want to reconstruct an advisory council for our future needs. So if you want to learn more about National, just be sure to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. It's now time to demand.
Hi, I'm Ann Jarvis. I'm president of the Oregon chapter. And just as Karen talked to you about the origins of National, we were the 13th chapter to be created. And the genesis of our creation started with interest from the Seattle chapter in getting a chapter started here in first in Portland. We connected with 5 founders, Nancy Fisher, Sharon Hewitt, Marianne Lockwood, Ellen Richardson, and Corny Stevens, and they incorporated in 2004, had charter members, and were able in their first full year of operation to grant 11 awards at OHSU. Since then, we've added both OSU in 2008, and we've added UO in 2015. Next slide. We operate through many committees, and our standing committees that you will hear from today include communications, finance, governance, nominating, philanthropy, program, scholar relations, university relations, and member relations. But in addition to this, we have had ad hoc committees, one of which I'll mention later. We currently have a DEI committee, and we engage in the practice of forming committees as needed outside of the standing committee to address specific concerns over a limited period of time. Next slide. Elizabeth Bell, the president-elect, is going to introduce the current officers for this year.
Okay, thank you. And yes, well, as you can see, we have Ann Jarvis, who is currently our president. Kris Mills. I'm not sure that Kris is here today, and you'll definitely be hearing from Kate Joseph in a few minutes when she tells you all about finance.
Thank you. Next slide. Oh, Kate, you're next. I think I have a couple slides later.
Okay, I'm on. So first, just to recap there, I am Vice President and Treasurer, and I also run the Finance Committee, which is a very valuable adjunct to a lot of our work, because finance has obviously quite a bit of breadth across the universe, the organization. It's not possible really to do the treasurer job without having the Finance Committee to support me. And I'm just starting here briefly with the numbers for you to have in mind. We have tended to run about 120 to 125 members, that top left block, in recent years. And I'm sure with Lori Slaughter coming on board, we'll be able to grow that number. We have total assets of about $3 million. In our practice yesterday, someone pointed out that we really should emphasize of the 3 million that we have a single bequest trust from one of our members who passed away, Ms. Jocelyn, and that alone is 1.7 million. So keep us in mind in your estate planning. With the benefit of that large chunk of money, which you can see in the middle of the screen, 1.7 million, we were able to take our chapter endowments, which were approaching $1 million at the time, and they were 200,000 individual endowments, $200,000 individual endowments that some of our members had given to us to manage, and each 200,000 investment was giving off an award, a new award every 3 years, and then renewing. We were able to put that money out in a university matched endowment program that we developed about 5 years ago. We've already got $4.4 million under management by each of the foundations of our 3 university partners. And with that million, we have already created 9 university matched endowments where we provided 100,000. There was a $50,000 match from the university. The amounts in many of those funds exceeds 200,000 each now. And each of those is now throwing off a single award. So there's an example where we kind of doubled our money from the million that was 5 awards at a time to turn that into 9 or 10. We have one more to do. We have the 117,000 remaining here. So that's how our finances fit together. Just so you're aware, when you see our annual scholar event, we now have about 80 scholars receiving their awards every October. And we're up at the $500,000 mark for the annual awards that we're giving out each year. And that's the $6,000 level to each of the people receiving a first year, second year, or third year award. And that's why this shows the 3-year history, because these are our active scholars today. And then just as another sample of our numbers, since 2009, where I have the history of the detail, so I did not go back to the 2004-05 period, but since 2009, we've given 311 awards. You can see that they're well distributed across the universities, although U of O has only been with us for about 4 years at this point. And we've given 331 awards in total from our founding. So next slide, please.
Thank you, Kate. We'll turn to your committee in a few
Yeah.
minutes. So Anne is back, if you don't mind, just to wrap up.
To unmute. In addition to the committee chairs, we have 3 members at large this year. Kris Anderson in Portland, Renee Gordon in Eugene, and Cheryl Hammond in Portland. We also have additional committees that I didn't mention earlier. We have the Long Range Planning Committee, a COVID response team, which of course we put into place with the pandemic, a nominating committee, which now falls under the Governance Committee, and the annual Scholar event. The annual Scholar event will be held this year, October 18, in person at the Portland Art Museum. We're considering the format of that event, but this has been our premier event since it first started, and we have had to segue the last 2 years to a virtual event. It's a great opportunity to meet other members, and there are many tasks of small size to larger, but it's a great way to engage with other members on a signature event for our chapter. Is there another slide that I have? Yes, visioning. An example of an ad hoc committee was the visioning committee started under the presidency of Julie Branford, which she asked me to chair. And we had only one meeting in person, and then the pandemic. And we actually completed our work in about 6 months, considering the growth and of our chapter. We wanted to make sure that we were really keen in on important areas so that we could move forward effectively to continue to further our mission. So we organized into teams of leadership and staffing, membership, and philanthropy. The report recommendations then led to an implementation team, which finally led to a recommendation to hire an executive director to pursue some funding to help us with that effort. And we applied to the Murdoch, the MJ Murdoch Foundation, and received our first very substantial grant in September. And then the Search and Screen Committee got to work, and we're fortunate to find Lori Slaughter and hire her as our executive director before year end. So that was a premier accomplishment of last year.
Thank you so much, Anne. Okay, and now we're going to turn to the standing committees and very short reports from VPs in the next 20 minutes in an effort to give you a sense for what each of these committees done. And we're going to start with Sharon. Please.
Great. Thank you for letting me go first. I have to scoot out of here early. The governance committee, our responsibility is to oversee the overall structural integrity of the organization. We haven't had a governance committee in the last couple of years, and we decided to bring it back because we decided we needed it. So we're really busy this year. Administratively, next slide. We are responsible for reviewing and amending the corporate documents as needed. We help committees with their job descriptions and any policies and procedures that they're responsible for. We coordinate with legal counsel as needed. We just revised the bylaws of the corporation, and so we did speak with an attorney about recent changes in the law. And hopefully that'll get passed tomorrow or approved. We distribute and explain legal documents to the board that they may need to complete, like for instance, the conflict of interest forms that every board member signs when they come on the board. Creatively, we strategize the succession plans and oversee the nominating for new board members each year. And we draft a lot of documents. So there's lots of writing involved. I liked hearing somebody had that strength. I could use you. We promote leadership development and assist with board training. Because my committee is just getting restarted this year, I'm short on people, so we haven't been able to dive into that one as much as we'd like, but hopefully next year we can do more of that. And we work with the long range plan. Our current long range plan is in the 4th year. So next year we'll be wrapping up the five-year plan. And we'll have to start on a new plan. And we monitor every year the progress that every committee's made with regard to what their committee has been doing. If you have any legal experience or you love to write, we could use you on this committee.
Thank
Thanks.
you, Sharon. Thank you so much and have a great birthday celebration.
I will. Thank you.
Next, we'll turn back to Kate to let her finish her presentation about finance.
And I had already said that the committee members on finance meet regularly monthly, even have a special summer meeting to finish putting together our annual budget. Lots and lots of discussion about our numbers, our financial health, our investment status, our insurance, business insurance. If any of these terms sound like you have experience in them and actually enjoy those technical details, we would love to have you. I'm actually an attorney, but also with a finance background and happen to love all of this back office stuff. So not everyone does. We're always looking for the new members who have that particular interest. And our committee responsibilities are budgeting annually for the chapter's success and ongoing growth. Then monthly monitoring the financial statements, both actual to budget and in anticipation of chapter needs as they arise and change during the year. We have an investment subcommittee of several people who focus on monitoring the performance of our invested funds. That was $2.2 million of our $3 million assets on the earlier slide that I mentioned. That much is invested in basically a balanced portfolio strategy, long-term growth. We have an allocations committee that is always chaired by the treasurer, and some of the members come from the finance committee. And this group gets the fun exercise every January of sizing our Scholar Award commitment to kind of give the Philanthropy and University Relations committees the amount of money that they have overall for their awards. And then we put out to each of the universities. So we go down to the university level as to what each will be receiving in new awards that they can grant to their generally inbound students. We also deal with staff benefits, business insurance needs, the policies and procedures that are in the fiscal area, and contracts oversight, whether this is from our donors and the content and text of the donors to us and their contractual arrangements, and then the university matched endowments out to our universities, and oversight generally of operational contracts. So again, writing, legal, but also the finance, accounting, bookkeeping, and any interests in that area. We will be glad to have you participate.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll move on to my favorite committee. Go ahead, Amanda. We're not hearing you, Amanda.
I'm not used to putting my mic on mute. So I'm happy to introduce the Member Relations Committee, also known as MRC. And the Member Relations Committee is just that. It's about members relating. And in truth, because of COVID, the last 2 years, we have done very little relating face-to-face, and I hope that that changes very soon. We have some fun activities in the future that are being planned right now. I'd like to just share first of all, I'm also really pleased to hear that so many of you new members have already joined a committee. That is awesome that you're immediately engaged and active, because that's really, really important for this organization to work well and succeed. There's 4 areas that I'd like to talk about with our committee, and they are overlapping because there's things that the other members do that are not on our committee. One is recruitment. It's really important that we all think about recruiting new members to our organization, and primarily our task in this committee is to track the applications and the forms. So that's kind of the administrative side of it. Working on policy and goal setting for our members, and strategizing how to diversify our membership, and really reach out to other members in our community and our colleagues to grow this organization. So recruitment is a large focus for this committee. The other large focus is retention. Once we have members, how do we make them feel welcomed and valued, and to stay involved and engaged? So we're still, it's a work in progress. We're still processing. We have a survey to try to figure out, why someone left, and how can we really, retain our members and keep them involved. One is celebrating milestones and encouraging all our members that have been here a long time and have been on every committee. And it's just, we want to really showcase our awesome members. And I also want to shout out to all the members of my committee that are here today. And the last one is engagement, and that's where we have some fun. We are sponsored, we're tasked with doing the welcoming in this orientation presentation. We also are responsible for our annual meeting, which is it's going to be in person on May 17th in Portland. And we have a luncheon, and we get to actually see each other and relate and talk with each other, a little bit social and a little bit, just a presentation from our board. It's a really nice opportunity for us to get together. The other thing that we also have planned that's part of this committee is our summer garden party, which is already being planned. Thank you for the subcommittee for planning that. And that's July 24th. We also have something called Wine Women in the Web, which is fairly new. We have this awesome website that is somewhat tricky to navigate. So we put together a presentation. It's Wine Women in Web because we used to get together pre-COVID and have a glass of wine and some treats, along with learning how to navigate in our website, because there's just so much information and forms that you can find. So the last one is just to encourage each other to connect with our scholars, be engaged in our programs and our visits on site. Hopefully that will happen again. And so if you want to come have fun and connect with other people, I hope you can come join this committee. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. Lara.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Cunningham. I'm the co-VP of Communications with Mayor Taylor, who is an amazing partner. So I'd like to welcome you to ARCS, and just know that the Communications Committee is really the best committee in ARCS. So please come play with us. If you, next slide, please. If you'd like to be in the know, this is the committee for you. You can impact our message using Mosaico, our e-newsletter, board briefs, our website, our social media, including Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and coming soon, Twitter. Our communication committees, our members really feel a sense of accomplishment, and we see projects from start to finish. So it's really amazing. We support our annual scholar event by providing collateral pieces. We're currently in the planning stages of the annual report. We work on the save the date card, the invitation, the scholar program, and we also help with the videos for our scholars. And that event is in October, which you've heard, October 18th. We have very creative opportunities. We work with our professional designer. We also work with a great videographer, and for the scholar event. We have monthly meetings on Zoom, of course, and we do the entire group meetings in terms of strategizing for events and for upcoming issues. And then we have subcommittees that work on different pieces. We build content and get greater exposure to our members and our scholars and their research and universities. So it's really an opportunity to be in the know and to showcase our scholars and showcase our universities. Being a member of this committee is the best way to get exposure. And you can help us support the vision of ARCS and identify various media options. We are also very fortunate to have the president of the ARCS National and the chair of the Communications ARCS National on our committee. So we are really in the know in terms of what's happening nationwide and how we can get the best bang for our buck, the best communications out there. So please come play with us. We're collaborative and we play together very well. We have fun, and go ARCS.
Thank you, Laura. Very
Yeah.
nice. Okay. Time for philanthropy, and Beth is going to present this.
Hi there, I'm Beth McQuestion. I'm the co-VP of Philanthropy along with Elisa Anderson. And I think you'll notice with a lot of the committees, there are co-VPs because I think that a lot of the women in ARCS are very busy women, and we divide and conquer. We play to our strengths, and we each do the part of the committee work that is of interest to us. I want to welcome you to ARCS and tell you what the role of philanthropy is. The Philanthropy Committee is to build long-term relationships and financial commitments with ARCS members, the community, corporations, and foundations. All the ARCS committees are tremendous and fun, and mostly that's because ARCS members are just outstanding and exceptional women. And I think you'll enjoy any committee that you go on. In philanthropy in particular, we are looking for someone to help with our minutes, which is a great way for a newcomer to learn the ropes, and to help with thank you notes. We talk about how there are 4 pillars to philanthropy. There's engaging, giving, cultivating, and appreciating. So engaging is attending events. Giving is every member of ARCS is a philanthropist because a portion of your dues goes to scholar awards. Cultivating is telling your friends about ARCS and bringing them to meetings and also letting us know if they would be a good donor. And then appreciating are the thank you notes and like the cookies that we send out and things like that. I wanted to show you here the ways there are to give to ARCS. That is there. I know that we've mentioned several times that the scholar awards go over a period of 3 years, $6,000 a year. But what's really important to these scholars is that these funds are unrestricted. They can use them for the greatest need that they have during this time, which can be very difficult when they have, not much income and they are, really having to concentrate on research, and they can really make a difference. So many of our members give scholar awards over the course of 3 years. Some make university matched endowments where they contribute $100,000 and the universities contribute $50,000, and it does a scholar award in perpetuity. And I just want you to look at all the different ways in which you can donate to ARCS. We mentioned the Joslin endowment, which is, a way to make ARCS a beneficiary. A lot of people fund their scholar awards out of retirement fund distributions. I just encourage you to follow your passion and join. You can join more than one committee. Our committee is small but mighty. And I think that you should follow your passion and find the committees that best suit you. And again, welcome.
Thank you so much, Beth. Next is Jamie. Program.
Hi, good evening, everyone, or good afternoon. My name is Jamie Brown, and I'm a co-chair along with Rachel Dresbeck of the program committee. The primary goal of our committee is to create excellent experiences for ARCS members, potential members, and our family and friends. We do this by hosting a speaker series. We do 4 speakers a year right now. We start off by inviting, We start off by inviting a scholar, a 2nd or 3rd year scholar, to give a short presentation on their research. It's an opportunity for them to practice on us, since we're a pretty low risk audience, and get them thinking about how to speak to a layman's audience. And then the focus of the work is really on hearing from key researchers. And these are researchers from our partner universities. Along with the lectures, we also coordinate a spring field trip to one of our academic partners. And this year, our fingers are crossed, we're going to be able to do it in person again. Like the field trip, traditionally, our speaker series are held in person. Currently, they're still virtual, but we're just beginning to reimagine what they might look like when it's safe to meet in person again. Obviously, one of the big advantages of being virtual is that it means we can all attend regardless of where we are in Oregon. So please consider joining the programs committee if your ears perk up when you hear or read about exciting research at one of the partner universities. If you have an interest or experience with event planning, and please do join us if you'd like to meet monthly with a fun group of members focused on providing our membership with engaging learning opportunities. Thanks so much. It's really nice to meet you all.
Thanks, Jamie. Next, we'll have Kathie Lasater to talk about scholar relations.
Well, everyone, it's really a pleasure to welcome you to membership in ARCS Oregon. On behalf of Diana Gordon, my co-chair, and the rest of the Scholar Relations Committee, also known as SRC, I'm very pleased to tell you a little bit about our committee. As the name suggests, the focus of our committee is the scholars themselves. In fact, our purpose is A, to build relationships between members and scholars through various events, and B, maintain relationships with scholar alumni. Next slide, please, Nancy. As such, we plan events you see listed here, help scholars and donors connect, bring scholar issues to the forefront, and collaborate with other standing committees to coordinate many of the events that you see on the slide here. For example, we work with the Membership Relations Committee to identify scholar liaisons to connect with those scholars who are supported by the chapter, whom we also refer to as chapter scholars. I'd like to tell you a bit more about the Scholar Liaison Program because we are most likely to ask new members to serve as scholar liaisons so you can get to know more about the way ARCS works and the scholars themselves. So here's how it all came about. In the last academic year, the SRC became aware that scholars with named donors had those individuals with whom they could connect. However, chapter scholars did not have such folks. So the SRC determined to pair new members with chapter scholars to bridge the gap. And as I was a newish member, I became the lucky liaison of an OSU scholar who is doing incredible work in microbiology, about which I knew little to nothing. So most of last year, I basically just sent cards or emails, got to know this person and asked a few questions about his life outside of academics, and learned so much more about his research and what he was hoping to accomplish in his PhD program. Because we were unable to hold the picnic in September, my husband and I drove to Corvallis last November and took him to lunch, which was strictly optional on our part, but really easy since we were both retired. One of the challenges we're working on this year is maintaining relationships with scholar alums. Most of them haven't yet completed their PhDs at the end of their ARC scholarship period, but as they draw closer to completion, it is definitely challenging to keep in touch. So as an organization, we have many, many connections, and we have a lot to offer these scholar alums. So for this year, we're trying to garner accurate contact information and plan an alumni event to promote connection among them. Interestingly, one of our scholar alums is a member of the SRC, and what a gift that has been to have her. As you might imagine, because of COVID, the SRC has had to make some difficult decisions about events that normally would happen in person, such as the September picnic, pizza parties, and celebrate the third-year scholars. And we hope, as several have mentioned, that we'll be able to host some of these in person later this year. Normally, we would have similar events in both Portland and Corvallis, allowing the U of O scholars to join either event. From personal experience, I have to say that the best way to get acquainted with ARCS members and the organization is to join a committee. And so in addition to serving as a scholar liaison to a chapter scholar, you would be most welcome to join the SRC as a place of service in ARCS Foundation, Oregon. And it really is the fun committee, by the way.
Thank you, Kathie. All right, last but not least, Kris Kern will wrap us up with university relations, and then we'll have some questions.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. Welcome to ARCS. It is so wonderful to meet you in person, virtually, I guess, right? I'm Kris Kern in Portland, and my co-vice president for university relations, Malia Ashford, is in Corvallis. We have the two co-VPs plus university liaisons who provide direct connection with each of our partner universities. In addition, there are committee members who participate in our activities. And we are delighted that Annie Zeidman-Karpinski has joined us on the University Relations Committee already. Next slide. Thank you. So we interface with the university partners in a number of ways. First of all, we are involved in the Scholar Award allocations process, which Kate has mentioned. We collect the number of students, anticipated number of students, and the number of ARC scholars in the PhD programs that have ARC scholars at the universities. We participate in the allocations meetings where this data is used in the process to determine the number of new awards to each college or department for the fall of the next academic year. With respect to our scholars, we make sure they are successfully brought into the ARCS program at the beginning of their award tenure and participate in new scholar orientation. And then we follow the progress of each scholar as they continue for the 3 years. We worked with the universities as well to ensure that they continue to meet the program requirements following ARCS national guidelines. And we do this in part by having site visits every 4 to 5 years for the approved departments and programs. This year, we'll be going to OSU in the spring to do a virtual site visit of the College of Engineering. We'd really hope that that would be in person, but not to be yet. We also work with the universities to develop applications for new department approval by ARCS National. We're hopeful this year that the joint OHSU-PSU School of Public Health will be approved by the National. We also work with universities to develop new ways to expand ARC's presence on each campus and to enhance the experience of our scholars as they progress through the graduate school programs. Though this has been somewhat of a challenge with COVID, so we hope that in the future we'll be able to work more in that direction. We'll also be looking to define and develop a clearer structure for the role of our ARCS member liaisons that work at the university partners. In finishing, I would just like to say that it is really a wonderful, exciting relationship that we have in collaborating with the faculty and scholars. And we certainly look forward to meeting them in person. And if you have any interest in working with the faculty and students, we certainly hope that you'll consider University Relations to join. Thank you. And again, welcome to ARCS.
Thank you so much, Kris. And we are a little short on time, but we do have a little time. We started a few minutes after. We'd love to hear from you. Anne, I think, was planning to field the questions. If any.
I think really quick, I also want to say, in spite of COVID, all of these committees have just done an amazing job over the last 2 years, and we are still growing, and this organization is so strong, and we are still having fun, even if we can't see each other so often.
I agree with that. Thank you. So we'd like to invite questions, observations. Clearly, this is a lot of information. You have a lot of opportunities to be engaged, and you may have new ideas about how we do things. And we always welcome those. We are continuing to grow. I guess I'm going to have to tweet. You know, I am not a good social media person, but we are trying to become more engaged, more relevant, and there are so many opportunities to be involved. But I'm sure you have questions, and we're really a group that likes to share what we know and learn from what you have to share with us.
So I have a question, Anne, or
well, Linda, I of course expected you to have a question. Linda and I go way back.
So first off, just wonderful presentation. I want to do everything, but I know that's not possible, and nor is it good. Are we allowed to dip into more than one committee? Or do I have to just say, this is it, and that's it, and focus?
You know what? A, yes, that's the short answer. B, I think it's good for you to talk to the chair of each committee and to help identify what your, you know, if you have an area that you think fits well for you, and if you have a particular time limitation, let the chair know what your what your availability is.
Okay.
Most of these committees, all of the standing committees have set times that they meet each month.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be something to consider as well.
Okay, great.
And we are getting into the habit, I think, of recording many of our meetings if you miss a meeting.
Great, thank you. There were a couple of areas that particularly overlap a little, and that so some of the committee chairs, you will hear from me. Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, hi. Christine, did you want to say something?
You're on mute. I wanted to say hello to Linda. She and I have known each other sporadically over the years at the MAC. That's really good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And Sharon?
Yeah, thank you. That was really very helpful. And you might have touched on this and I might have missed it, but I'm wondering how we assess what the scholars want out of ARCS besides the stipend, which is obviously hugely important. But you know, I was thinking about you know, I was instructed to I was asked to try and contact 2 scholars. One of them I finally was able to get a single conversation with. The other one I just could not get their attention at all. But do we have any sense of what they want? Do they like the annual meetings? Do they want, what sort of contact and events do they want?
Well,
Do we have a way to assess
I'm going to
that?
give Scholar Awards an opportunity to do that. I will say that many of them really, we have had more than a few scholars tell us that the connection and support they get from our members and interaction with other scholars actually is more important to them than the money. Of course, they appreciate the money and they need the money at this stage in their studies.
Good to hear. Thank you.
This is Kathie for Scholar Relations, and I'll just say that we do ask students from time to time, scholars from time to time, what their needs are, what they would like from us. And as Anne mentioned, we often get comments about how they appreciate the individual as well as the group support. Because we didn't get to do the picnic this last September, we actually started a new activity called Scholar Appreciation Week and gave them an opportunity each day to reach out to a member and have an email conversation with them. Some of them are more responsive than others. I would say the majority are really interested in having a relationship, but after each event or after we asked for their evaluation of that particular new strategy that we launched in October and got really good feedback for improving it next time. But also they just really kind of enjoyed the fun of it all because we didn't get to do the picnic, so we had to come up with something kind of fun. Occasionally we send out things like, and this was because the picnic was canceled, we used some of the money that we had budgeted for the picnic to send them all a coffee card from, all of the scholars, a coffee card for them to use in their various communities. And yeah, we try to stay in touch with them, keep our fingers on the pulse of what they're interested in. But as you mentioned, Sharon, there are a couple who really aren't that interested in a personal relationship, but by far and away the majority are.
And through Karen's efforts, I might add, I'm heading up a collaboration network this year that is new on scholar and scholar alum relations, and we're focusing on alumni. And some chapters, well, all of us want to do better. But Karen recently told me that we actually have contacts with over 200 of our scholars, which is good. We won't stop trying, but that's a pretty good indication that many of our scholars who have become alums are still affiliated with us.
I don't want to be a spoil sport here, but we have been going for an hour now, and I want to be respectful. We all want to be respectful of your time and thank everyone for coming and encourage you to please reach out to us. And we'll be more than happy to speak with you or email one another. Leanne can connect you. If you haven't gotten your roster yet, you should get it soon. And you can find all of our contact information. I just want to take a moment to thank Jamie Anderson, who's not here, Joan Foley and Sheila Goodwin, who were particularly helpful in putting together this program from MRC.
And in return, I would like to thank Nancy and Amanda, because I know you put enormous effort into this and we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you and welcome.
Welcome to ARCS.
Yeah, this has been great. Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you in person.
Thank you.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.